You want him put in Lots of love and blessings. Thank you very much, Malachi. Thank you. Could I have a round of applause again? Okay, at this point, I'm going to invite Joanna to come. She's going to share some pieces from, you want to? She'll let you know. Okay. And they may have to leave at some point, so please excuse them if they have to get up and go. Remember, they have to go back to work.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
To the organizers of this event, Dr. Davies and all the other staff who organized this. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm representing the Consulate of Trinidad and Tobago. Certainly delighted to have been invited to attend this. It's important for us to immerse ourselves in each other's culture. It affords it's an opportunity for us to understand each other, and I'm proud to be able to represent Trinidad and Tobago this afternoon. Welcome. Well, as you all know, this year Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica were celebrating our 50th anniversaries of independence. It's a significant milestone that our nations are crossing, and of course it's a perfect time for reflection for both our countries, I'm sure, reflecting on where we started and where we are at this point in time and where we're going, the direction in which we're going. And today I thought it was fitting to read excerpts from Dr. Eric Williams. He was our country's first Prime Minister, often referred to as the father of our nation. He's a scholar, historian. I'm sure you would have heard of Dr. Williams. He proposed Caribbean integration. He was supportive of Caribbean integration. Certainly a son of the Caribbean and of Trinidad and Tobago, of whom we are proud. So I'm going to be reading from his book, History of the People of Trinidad and Tobago, and I chose to take excerpts from the conclusion to this book. So and I'll discuss it in turn. Independence Day, August 31st, 1962, finds Trinidad and Tobago no longer a great workshop operated by slave or semi-servile labor, but a miniature state. Two races have been freed, but a society has not been formed. It takes more than national boundaries, a national anthem, however stirring, a national coat of arms, however distinctive, a national flag, however appropriate, a national flower, however beautiful, to make a nation. The task facing the people of Trinidad and Tobago after their independence is to create a nation out of the discordant elements and antagonistic principles and competing faiths and rival colors which have produced the amalgamum that is today the approximately 875,000 people of Trinidad and Tobago. In assuming this enormous responsibility, the people of Trinidad and Tobago have two decisive advantages, provided only that they appreciate them and act accordingly. The first advantage is the fundamental underlying unity of the society of Trinidad and Tobago. A foreign student, with all the impetuosity of youth rushing in where angels fear to tread, may talk of an Indian village in Trinidad not being West Indian, and predict that the Indians will never be assimilated. It is certain, however, that he did not have to paint his white face black or brown to ascertain this, as a compatriot of his had to do in respect of his native country. The fact of the matter is, however, that in Trinidad, the Negro, the Indian, French and Spaniard, English and Portuguese, Syrian and Lebanese, Chinese and Jew, all have messed out of the same pot. All are victims of the same subordination. All have been tarred with the same brush of political inferiority. Divergent customs and antipathetic attitudes have all been submerged in the common subordinate status of colonialism. All have been maligned for centuries. The Amerindian as subhuman, the Africans as closer to the ape, without manufactures, arts, or sciences, the Indians as savages without a history of their own, objects of commerce and conquest, the Chinese as a passive people and a negative element, the European reformers as disreputable persons courting Negro suffrages. Whether it was Carnival or Jose or water, the same blank wall of governmental indifference faced the people. The same gulf separated governors and governed. Today, the various groups in Trinidad and Tobago have suffered. Together they have aspired, together they have achieved, only together they can succeed. And only together can they build a society, can they build a nation, can they build a homeland. The second decisive advantage with which the people of Trinidad and Tobago assume their independent status is that they cannot conceivably do worse than their former metropolitan governors. The population of Trinidad and Tobago must be made of the poorest stuff if it cannot improve on more than 4.5 centuries of colonialism. Against these two decisive advantages, the people of Trinidad and Tobago face one overwhelming disadvantage. That is the national character, as developed and encouraged by generations of slavery and colonialism, by harsh pressures, political, economic, and social, to which they have been subjected, by the domination in theory and in fact of the metropolitan organization and the metropolitan civilization personified by the expatriate officer who ruled Trinidad and Tobago, without any reference whatsoever to the wishes or opinions or needs of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Their history was in the past made for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They were the subjects and objects of that history. With independence, the people of Trinidad and Tobago will make their own history. They will be active and no longer passive. There are many injustices to correct and many indignities to remove. But if colonialism meant the exploitation of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, with others growing fat on the fruits of their sweated labor, independence means not that they must work less, but that they must work more, not for others, but for themselves. The slave could idle when he was working for his master, and the indentured worker could feign sickness and go to hospital. This was passive resistance. The retribution exacted by the weak majority from the strong minority. The slackers and the thieves and the confidence men in the age of independence are the enemies of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. If a man must steal, as long as he is in his right mind, he will not steal from himself. On August 31st, 1962, a country will be free, a miniature state will be established, but a society and a nation will not have been formed. After August 31st, 1962, the people of Trinidad and Tobago will face the fiercest test in their history. Whether they can invest with flesh and blood the bare skeleton of their national anthem, here every creed and race find an equal place, that is their challenge. They may fail, others more important and better endowed than they have failed conspicuously. That would be no justification for their own failure, but merely to make the attempt, merely to determine to succeed, would be an enormous tribute to their capacity, a powerful inspiration to frustrated humanity, a wonderful opportunity for self-gratification. This will be their final emancipation from slavery. This will be their final demonstration that slavery is not by nature and that the humblest antecedents are not inconsistent with greatness of soul. Those are the words of Dr. Eric Williams. Dr. Diaz, when he introduced, he made the initial introduction, you said that people stereotype the Caribbean. They know about our sand, our sea, our fun spirit. But many people do not associate the Caribbean with this type of passion and this type of strong will. When you read the words of Dr. Williams, you'd realize that Trinidad and Tobago was born out of a passion and a confidence in our ability to self-govern. It's the same for Jamaica. When you listen to Malachi speak about Jamaica, he speaks about his passion. It comes from our boards. We are passionate about our countries, and this is something that I think should be talked about even more. We have a great tourism product. Trinidad is blessed with energy and its resources, but we are strong people, and these words show where our countries have come from. The energy that started our countries and fueled our independence. For the pioneers of our nationhood, independence was the precondition under which our people would have the right to forge our own destinies, and to really level that playing field to ensure that regardless of creed and race, socioeconomic status, and all of those conditions, regardless of the differences, that we would all have a hand in shaping our destiny. And this was evident in Dr. Williams's words. When we reflect 50 years down the road from 1962, Trinidad and Tobago has a lot to be proud of. We have achieved a lot, and we've actually shown and defied certain stereotypes, certain colonial stereotypes that the colonized couldn't afford self-determination, that we couldn't manage ourselves. And as a people, we have made considerable strides in our socioeconomic development. For instance, Trinidad and Tobago, if you study the strategy used by the pioneers of our nation, education was a major proponent in making the population believe that this was something that was attainable, and it was something that was necessary in order for us to chart our own destiny. Education was fundamental. Dr. Williams and the other people who were around him at the time, they took the education to the masses. They brought it down to the level of the masses. I know people in the Caribbean would know about the University of Woodford Square. I don't know. Yes, and Woodford Square is a park. It's just an open square in Trinidad. But there would be public forums at the time. He would come into the square and educate the man on the street what it meant to be independent, what it means to have that opportunity. And over the years, we are very proud in the fact that education has remained very important to the success of governments in Trinidad and Tobago. Today, we boast a 98% literacy rate, for instance. That's something that we are proud of as a small island developing state. We are certainly proud of that. We also, students enjoy free education from the level of the pre-elementary level all the way up to undergraduate studies. Free education, I'm a product of that, so it's something that I'm proud of. I was homeschooled at the University of the West Indies, and it was made possible because of the vision of our leaders, you know, and the fact that education was a foremost goal. In addition to which, economic stability is another factor that Trinidad and Tobago remains proud of. Since attaining independence, we have had successive years of economic growth and economic stability. We've been blessed with natural resources, but of course, visionary leadership over the years, we've put it to good use, and it's been reinvested into our society. We are essentially an energy-driven economy, and our energy resources have been used to fuel the education drive, for instance. So this is another thing that we are certainly proud of. Now, when I read the work of Dr. Williams, I think one thing that stood out to me was how much he emphasized our differences. We are a very cosmopolitan society. Malachi spoke about it in Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago is the same thing. The imprint of colonization in our land is still seen. It's seen. So many people were brought to work the land, they settled, and the result is a very, very cosmopolitan society. They're descendants of the African slaves, the Indian indentured laborers, the Chinese, the Europeans, the Syrians, the Lebanese, all one melting pot. We call it a kalaloo. All one melting pot of so many different people. And 50 years isn't a long time to be independent. However, we have proven that there can be unity in diversity. Harmony in diversity, I should say. 50 years and social cohesion has always been foremost to our governments, and we have certainly proven that it is possible to celebrate each other's differences. He spoke about the first advantage to Trinidad and Tobago is the fundamental underlying unity of our society. I believe that in Trinidad and Tobago, the reason that it's so easy for us to celebrate each other is because there is an underlying consensus that this is what makes us unique. Our differences make us unique. And it's something that we're proud of. In 50 years, we have proven to the world that the differences that we have among us, our different ancestries, and all of that, those are the facts those are our selling points, essentially. That's our selling point. And because of this and because of the way we've integrated and we celebrate each other, it comes through in our festivities. I don't know if you all know about Carnival, for instance. Yes? Well, Carnival is it's an annual event. It's held every year just before the Lenten season. And the artistry is amazing. The music that comes from it is equally amazing. And all of that inspiration, it comes from our different, it comes from our heritage, our diverse heritage. That's where it comes from, the inspiration for all of that. And if there is anything that we would like to share with the world, it's just that. Being a cosmopolitan nation is a blessing, and we have a lot to bring to the table. So that's another thing that Trinidad and Tobago boasts of over the 50 years of its independence. As we go forward as a nation, there have certainly been challenges. 50 years, as I said, it's not a long time. We've done considerably well, considering the challenges that we've had to deal with globalization, like everyone else, dealing with an increasingly interconnected world, fast-paced environment. But as we go forward, I would also like to share with you some of the policy direction that the government is embarking on. In terms of our trade, as I said, and we are primarily an energy-dependent nation. However, we are going ahead to diversify our economy. We understand, the government understands that there are a number of strengths, competitive advantages that exist in Trinidad and Tobago that we need to tap into. For instance, our film industry. We're very creative people. So our festivals industry, our film industry, it's one area that we're looking to diversify into. We also have food and beverage. Our countries are known for our unique cuisine, and it's an area that we are looking to tap into to probably be an even more viable export market. I said the festivals, we have yachting as well. I know this is Florida, and many people have own boats and stuff here, but Trinidad, being outside of the hurricane belt, is a safe area to actually dock boats during that season. And a lot of people do that. We have the facilities, and we're looking to invest in that sector to make it even more viable. So those are some of the areas that we are moving into as a nation. In the next 50 years, we want to continue along the road of economic stability, economic viability, And we would also like to continue along the path of solidifying the social cohesion that exists in our nation with regard to our cosmopolitan nature and all of that. So I am pleased to be able to be here to share with you this afternoon. I hope the piece that I did stirred the creative process of the intellectual process, that's what I should say. Stirred some ideas in you and could create further discussion. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. That was very educational. Not just for me, I'm sure others here too. So thank you. At this point, I'm going to ask Najiri Clark. Najiri is a recent graduate of our own Fischler Interdisciplinary Arts Program. And she did her capstone on Sunday. And I attended and I was so impressed with the whole, was it an hour and a half, almost 2 hour show that she put together all on her own. And I thought, oh my God, this is Fischler, this is what we do. If you ever have the opportunity through David Spangler and his office to go to one of those capstones of his students at the end of their program, it's phenomenal. And it's just a nice theater evening out and just to see the creativity that comes out from our own. So I invited Najiri here today, and her opening song was Young, Gifted and Black, which I just wanted to hear again. So I asked her to sing it, and she'll probably share another piece with us. Thank you, Najiri.
To be young, gifted and black. Oh, how I've longed to know the truth. There are times when I look back and I am haunted by my youth. In the world we know there's a million children who grow to be young, gifted and black. Young, young, gifted and black. We're young, young, gifted and black. A little girl from a third world country. Many nights my mama went to bed hungry so we could eat. You know I'll always remember that. Sacrifice so we can have an education. I promised her that I would make myself something. I love you, Ma, and you know I'll never treat you bad. Young, young, gifted and black. We're young, young, gifted and black. Young, young, gifted and black. We're young, young, gifted and black. 8 years old when they told me that I couldn't read. And accent thick, I just couldn't let myself believe that these words would ever turn against me. A's on the paper, you see I'm never looking back. My cousin said that I would always be ugly. Now I know that they were mad cause they just worried me. Lost many friends but that made me a better me. Cry tears at night and you see I made it straight through that. Young, young, gifted and black. We're young, young, gifted and black. Young, young, gifted and black. We're young, young, gifted and black. Oh, I know what it's like to have dreams and them tell you you're not good enough. And the reasons they give you for being don't ever seem they're good enough to make you ever really give up. Then you are young, gifted and black. young, young, gifted and black. Young, young, gifted and black. We're young, young, gifted and black. Thank you. And the premise of the song is that if you have a dream, it doesn't matter exactly what color your skin is, but it's to be denied, and to not let someone else denying you of your dream or your passion or your goal stop you from getting where you want to go. And that's just the bottom line. It's just a part of my story.
Very good.
Thank you. So I'll do a second piece. It's from the same capstone, and it's short. This one doesn't have any music, but hopefully it'll resonate. You can have that fast life, beautiful dreams, and a chance to mean something forevermore. You can have your big dreams that's hard to believe, yeah. You can have it all and so much more, 'cause everything starts with one motion, and your living will follow your heart. Just take a step in that ocean, and a ripple will follow your start. And you can have that fast life, beautiful dreams, and a chance to mean something forevermore. You can have those big dreams that's hard to believe, yes. You will have it all and so much more, 'cause everything starts with one motion, and your living will follow your heart. Just let go of fear and loathing, and you'll find that you'll have it all, but you gotta believe.
Thank you, Nigeria. Thank you very much, Joanne, as well. I see you popping out. Thank you. Another round of applause for Nigeria. All right. Thank you, guys. Are you enjoying yourself so far? Are you learning something? Okay, good. That's what it's all about. Tiara, could you come and share with us, please?
As she's coming, before we lose our second special guest, do we have any questions for him before he has to leave? Okay. Go ahead.
Does anyone have any questions for Malachi? Malachi, I have one. What do you see as your biggest challenge in Jamaica?
Straight up, well, it's kind of dynamic and interconnected. Crime is always a big problem down there because of the socio-economic structure that exists. We inherited the whole colonial legacy, and it's very difficult to get things done down there. There's a lot of bureaucracy, and it leads to inefficiency and corruption. Straight up, people tends to, instead of to wait for the head of the person, that takes a month or two for it to get to the next one, and then another 2 months, they find we have going around the corner, paying somebody off to get things done. That's one of the biggest problems. It creates a lot of dislocation, and then because a lot of the contemporary leaders, politicians, a lot of them are less than noble, not all of them. And what that has demonstrated to, say, the younger kids from, say, the inner cities or the ghetto is that if they can be ripping off the country so much, we don't care, so we're going to make our money too. So, I'm sorry. Right, so you have that dynamic.
Yes, on.
Yeah, so you have that type of situation where once we can rein in, say, corruption at the official level and get a hold of crime, then we'll be well on our way to really achieving our full potential, because it's a very dynamic spot on earth. I like to think that God created a spot where He would come down from heaven and take us to the rest and stuff like that. And all the pirates, whether it was Henry Morgan from England and all those guys came. And I guess sometimes the descendants are still in the gene pool. So you have so much troublemaker down there sometimes. But once we can address that, seriously, once we can address the corruption, rid the heavy bureaucracy so you can get traction, things can move, and find a way of getting the children from the inner city communities, the poorest sector of the society, to get them buying into education and not just hype. We love hype. For argument's sake, the dancehall culture, the athletes, everybody wants to be a Usain Bolt, everybody wants to be a